The spring air of Lakeland was filled with the scent of blooming magnolia and the sound of music coming from the James Dewey High School gymnasium. Prom night, the event all high school students had been waiting for, was in full swing. Garlands of gold and blue ribbons, the school colors, hung from the ceiling, shimmering in the light of specially installed spotlights. A DJ played the latest hits, and the dance floor was filled with young men in smart suits and girls in evening gowns. Desiree Taylor was the star of the evening. In an elegant emerald dress that set off a dark skin, she attracted everyone's attention, not only with her flawless appearance, but also with her confidence. A gold medalist, student council president, and future Howard Law School student, she epitomized success and determination. "Prom queen!" someone shouted as she walked past a group of classmates. Desiree smiled, but there was tension in her eyes. She looked around nervously, as if searching for someone in the crowd. In the corner of the hall, not far from the makeshift photo area, stood the parents of the graduates. Among them stood out an elegant woman in an austere dark blue suit, Octavia Taylor, Desiree's stepmother. Her impeccable posture and cold gaze created an invisible zone of alienation around her. Next to her was Marcus Taylor, Desiree's father, a large man with graying temples, watching his daughter with pride. Octavia glanced back and forth between her husband and the other end of the hall where a group of teachers were watching the festivities. Among them was Levant Johnson, a tall, charismatic history teacher, a favorite of students and colleagues. The celebration continued. The DJ announced a slow dance and couples swirled in the center of the room. Desiree was standing by the refreshments table when Octavia approached her. "You look great, darling," she said, holding out a glass of punch. "I'm so proud of you." Desiree took the glass but was in no hurry to drink. "Thank you," she replied dryly. Something akin to contempt flashed in her eyes. "Your father wants to take some family photos," Octavia continued, fixing her perfectly styled hair. "Of course," Desiree nodded. "Only, I need to freshen up first." Octavia followed her stepdaughter's gaze as she headed for the exit of the hall, then quickly looked around and followed her. About 30 minutes passed. Marcus Taylor looked around restlessly, searching for his daughter and wife. "Has anyone seen Desiree?" he asked a group of female graduates standing nearby. "She went to the restroom," one of the girls replied, "but that was a long time ago." Marcus headed toward the girls' restroom and asked one of the passing teachers to see if his daughter was there. A moment later, the entire hallway was silenced by a piercing scream. The lifeless body of Desiree Taylor was discovered in one of the toilet stalls. Her head was in a toilet bowl filled with vomit. Her elegant emerald dress was stained, and her once perfect hair was reduced to wet, tangled strands. Instantly, the alarm went up. The school principal called an ambulance and the police while trying to keep the students and parents calm. The prom was interrupted, and everyone was asked to remain in the auditorium until law enforcement arrived. Detective Abel Worthington arrived on the scene 20 minutes after the call. Tall, with an athletic build, wearing an impeccably ironed suit, he moved with the confidence of a man who knew his job precisely. His attentive eyes quickly assessed the situation without missing a single detail. The scene had already been secured. The paramedics had pronounced death, and the forensics team had begun their work. Worthington put on gloves and cautiously examined the body, still untouched from the discovery. "What do we have?" he asked the first arriving patrolman. "Desiree Taylor, 18 years old, found dead in a toilet stall. Supposedly had too much alcohol, passed out while vomiting and choked to death. Prom night, you understand." Detective Worthington frowned. "Who discovered the body?" "Mrs. Clark, the literature teacher." The girl's father was concerned that his daughter was missing for a long time and asked her to check the restroom. The detective looked around the stall carefully. There was no bottle or glass of alcohol nearby. Only traces of vomit and water were visible on the floor. "Where are the parents?" he asked, straightening up. "In the principal's office. Father's in shock. Barely speaks. Stepmother's trying to calm him down." "Stepmother?" "Yes. Octavia Taylor. They've been married for 5 years." Worthington nodded and headed for the principal's office. On the way, he stopped by the gym, where the graduating seniors and their parents remained under the supervision of teachers and a few officers. "I need to speak to Desiree Taylor's close friends," he addressed the nearest officer, "and with anyone who last saw her before the incident." In the principal's office, Marcus Taylor sat with his head down on his hands. His shoulders shook with silent sobs. Octavia stood next to him, straight as a string, with red but dry eyes. "Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, I'm Detective Abel Worthington," he introduced himself. "Allow me to offer my condolences for your loss." Marcus raised his head. His face was contorted with grief. "My little girl. My little girl. I realize this isn't the best time, but I need to ask some questions," the detective continued. "Did Desiree use alcohol? Has she had a problem with it before?" "Never," Marcus exclaimed. "She wouldn't even drink champagne on New Year's Eve. Said it interfered with mental clarity." "Then what could have happened today?" "Graduation," Octavia said quietly. "A special day. Perhaps she decided to celebrate in a special way." Worthington looked at the woman carefully. Her voice was steady, but the fingers clutching her purse were white with tension. "When was the last time you saw Desiree?" "She said she had to go out," Octavia replied. I can't exactly say. It was as if time had stopped." "And you, Mr. Taylor?" "I was talking to Jamal's father, her classmate. Then I looked for Desiree for family photos and didn't find any." Worthington made a note in his notebook. "Did either of you go into the women's restroom before Desiree was found there?" Marcus shook his head. Octavia said slowly, "I was looking for her. Looked in the restroom, but I didn't see anyone. All the stalls were closed. I figured she was somewhere with her friends." The detective nodded. "Thank you. I'll get back to you with more questions." Back in the hallway, Worthington met the medical examiner, Dr. Ramona Gaines. "Abel, this is a strange situation," she said without preamble. "Preliminarily, death occurred about an hour ago. The cause appears to be asphyxia due to drowning. But there are nuances." "Like what?" "First of all, there's hardly any odor of alcohol. Second, there are pressure marks on her neck, not pronounced but noticeable, like someone held her head in water." Worthington frowned. "You don't think it's an accident?" "Can't say for sure yet. We need to do a full autopsy." At that moment, a young officer approached the detective. "Sir, we've interviewed several friends of the deceased. They all say the same thing. Desiree didn't drink tonight. Only punch. She was against alcohol in general." "Thank you," Worthington nodded and returned to the scene. He took another close look at the toilet stall. Something didn't add up in the picture of the accident. If the girl hadn't been drinking, where had the vomiting come from? And why couldn't she lift her head out of the toilet? In the hallway, he spotted Octavia Taylor standing at the window. She seemed calm, but her gaze was blank, directed nowhere. Noticing the detective, she quickly turned away and headed toward her husband. Worthington approached a group of teachers, including Levant Johnson. The history teacher looked shaken, his normally confident posture replaced by the slouch of a man under heavy weight. "Mr. Johnson, I'd like to talk to you about Desiree Taylor," the detective addressed him. "Of course," Levant nodded, casting a brief glance in Octavia's direction. Detective Worthington led Levant Johnson into an empty classroom for privacy. The blinds were drawn, the only light coming from a flickering fluorescent overhead. "Mr. Johnson," Worthington began, "how well did you know Desiree Taylor?" Levant sighed, rubbing his hands together. "I was her history teacher. But more than that, she confided in me. I think she saw me as a mentor. She was exceptional." "In what way?" "Driven, smart, passionate about justice. She wanted to become a lawyer, said she wanted to fight for people who didn't have a voice." "Did she seem troubled lately?" Levant hesitated. "Yes. She came to me 2 weeks ago. Said she'd discovered something that made her feel betrayed. But she wouldn't say what it was. Did she mention anyone by name? Another pause. No. But I got the impression it was about someone close. Family, maybe. Worthington took note. Did she ever mention her stepmother? Levant's lips thinned. Off the record. I don't think Desiree trusted Octavia. There was something icy between them. Back at the station, Detective Worthington asked his team to dig deeper into Octavia Taylor's background. What they found raised more questions than answers. Octavia wasn't Desiree's biological mother. Marcus had married her after Desiree's real mother passed away. Publicly, they played the perfect family. But privately, it seemed the relationship between stepmother and stepdaughter had been strained for years. At home, Marcus Taylor sat in silence in the living room, a framed photo of his daughter in his hands. Octavia paced the hallway upstairs, her heels tapping like a metronome of worry or calculation. The autopsy confirmed what Worthington suspected. Desiree had not consumed alcohol. Her stomach contents were clean, except for one anomaly. Traces of a powerful tranquilizer. Not something found in punch. Not something a teenager should have access to. The report also confirmed Dr. Gaines' early assessment. Desiree had been drowned. Deliberately. With the investigation now officially a homicide case, the mood shifted. Students began whispering. Teachers grew guarded. The Taylors, once admired, were now under scrutiny. Worthington visited Marcus and Octavia again, this time not with condolences, but with purpose. Mr. Taylor, Mrs. Taylor, he said firmly, I'm going to need a list of all the medications in your home, and I'll need both of you to come down to the station for a formal statement. Octavia stiffened. Are we suspects now? Not yet, Worthington said calmly. But the girl didn't die on her own. Marcus buried his face in his hands. Octavia stared the detective down, her eyes cold and unreadable. Later that evening, while reviewing Desiree's phone, recovered from her locker, Worthington found an unsent text message, drafted the day before prom. It read, If anything happens to me, don't believe it was an accident. She hates me. I think she's planning something. The contact was simply saved as J. Who's J? Worthington asked aloud. A quick phone number trace confirmed it belonged to Levant Johnson. The teacher was brought in again. She sent me that, he asked, stunned. I never got it. I swear. I would have done something. What do you think she meant by she? Worthington pressed. Levant closed his eyes, his jaw tight. It has to be Octavia. Desiree told me. She overheard a conversation. Something about insurance money. She was scared. The detective's brow furrowed. Insurance money? She said there was a policy. A big one. Marcus had set it up years ago, and Octavia was listed as the beneficiary. Back at the station, Worthington ran the paperwork. It was true. If Desiree died before turning 18, the payout would go directly to Octavia Taylor. Nearly $750,000. The dots were connecting, but there wasn't enough to arrest her. Not yet. The next day, Worthington got a call from forensics. They found traces of the same tranquilizer, benzodiazepine, in a bottle of homemade punch found in Octavia's car. Now they had a warrant. Officers stormed the Taylor residence just before dusk. Octavia was calmly watering the hydrangeas when they approached. Octavia Taylor, Worthington announced, you're under arrest for the murder of Desiree Taylor. For the first time, the woman's mask cracked. Her lips trembled. You have no proof, she whispered. We'll let a jury decide that, Worthington replied, cuffing her wrists. Inside the courtroom, weeks later, the trial began. The community was divided. Half believed Octavia was a grieving stepmother wrongly accused. The other half saw her as cold, calculated, and possibly capable of anything. Marcus testified for the prosecution. His voice cracked as he recounted the months of tension between his wife and daughter. She never loved Desiree, he admitted. She tolerated her. But there was no affection. When the forensic team explained how the drug had been administered, mixed in punch, with no alcohol to mask it, the jury sat in stunned silence. Octavia sat rigidly, showing no emotion. But the breaking point came during cross-examination. The prosecutor played a video, retrieved from school security footage, showing Octavia following Desiree toward the restroom. 2 minutes later, she exited. Desiree never did. Gasps filled the courtroom. Octavia stood, furious. This is all lies. She was disrespectful. She wanted to ruin everything. In a shocking moment, as the bailiff stepped closer, Octavia slapped him hard across the face. The courtroom erupted. The judge slammed his gavel. Mrs. Taylor, you are held in contempt. Octavia was restrained. Her eyes burned with rage. If this story has you hooked, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Echoes of Crime. We've got more shocking twists and real-life courtroom drama coming your way, so turn on the bell notification so you never miss a moment. The courtroom was silent now, stunned by the outburst. Reporters scribbled in their notepads. Spectators stared in disbelief. And Octavia, breathing heavily, sat back down with her hands cuffed again. The judge's voice thundered. We are adjourned until tomorrow. Mrs. Taylor's behavior will be factored into sentencing. Outside the courthouse, the media swarmed. Headlines exploded. Stepmother snaps on stand. Insurance, murder, and a prom gone wrong. The prosecution's final argument was simple, chilling, and unforgettable. Desiree Taylor never stood a chance. She was a young girl, full of life and promise. And the one person who should have protected her, a woman she called family, chose money over love. Octavia's defense argued mental instability, stress, paranoia. They tried to paint her as misunderstood, misjudged. But the evidence was overwhelming. In the end, the jury took less than 4 hours to decide. Guilty. Octavia Taylor was sentenced to 2 years in prison, not for murder, but for involuntary manslaughter and assault on a law enforcement officer. The judge, citing lack of direct physical evidence and manipulation of circumstantial data, gave her the maximum sentence allowable under a plea deal arranged mid-trial. Marcus never visited her again. The house felt like a grave. Desiree's funeral was packed. Her classmates wore purple, her favorite color. Her teachers cried as they spoke. Levant Johnson gave the eulogy. She was the kind of student who didn't just raise her hand. She raised the standard for everyone else. And now, she's gone. Taken by greed. Silenced by betrayal. At the cemetery, Marcus placed a single photo beside her coffin. Desiree in her prom dress, smiling wide, arms outstretched. It was the last picture ever taken of her. Years later, documentaries would re-examine the case. Podcasts would dissect every angle. Online forums debated whether Octavia acted alone or if others helped. Rumors swirled about a second accomplice, someone who might have tampered with the crime scene. But nothing was ever proven. Octavia served her full sentence. She was released quietly. No cameras. No press. No family waiting outside. She now lives alone in a small apartment in Alabama under a different name. No one really knows what she does or how she survives. But her neighbors describe her as strange. Quiet. Always watching. Marcus sold the house. Moved north. Changed jobs. He still keeps Desiree's prom dress in a box under his bed. And sometimes, when he can't sleep, he replays the final voicemail Desiree left him the morning of her death. Hey Dad. I just wanted to say thank you for everything. I know I don't say it enough. I love you. Tonight's gonna be great. I can feel it. He never deletes it. Because in a world that let her down, that voicemail is all he has left. And the rest of us? We're left with a story that reminds us. Sometimes, the real danger isn't outside the home. It's sitting across the dinner table, wearing a smile. If this story moved you or made you think twice about the secrets families hide, please like this video, subscribe to Echoes of Crime, and click the bell icon so you're first to know when our next chilling true crime story drops. Until then, stay safe and stay curious.